The governor and Chief Justice back in January came out with a joint statement about criminal justice reform in Georgia. The sentencing in criminal cases in a lot of ways just doesn't make sense. It's not cost effective. And we have one of the highest rates of incarceration in the world here in Georgia. The mandatory minimum sentences that came in the early 90s have been a study in unintended consequences in terms of the rate of incarceration and how much it costs the taxpayers of Georgia. The governor put me on the council. I appointed a committee at the bar that's largely prosecutors and judges and defense lawyers to work on those issues. I expect that we will be seeing over the next year some changes in terms of mandatory minimum sentences. Seasoned prosecutors have told me that it just doesn't make sense that we can't make a real distinction in sentencing between a 17-year-old with a squirt gun and a 35-year-old with an AK-47. They're both armed robbery. They both have that mandatory minimum sentence so long as they're sentenced under that statute that they violated. There are plenty of other examples. There are trivial types of offenses that may be reclassified from criminal to some sort of administrative violation. The objective on those things is to save the state money and resources. But there's also a huge emphasis on accountability courts, DUI, drug courts, mental health courts, to try to salvage lives by using community-based corrections in their hometown, have them work, pay their fines, check in, have random drug tests with instant results, and hold their feet to the fire and try to salvage some lives. Law practice management is an area near and dear to my heart and every sole practitioner in the audience. Law school doesn't teach us how to manage a law practice, does it? Our law practice management program at the bar provides a lot of resources on this. We've got one member of the law practice management committee that I drafted. He's sitting in the back of the room, Kevin. And hopefully over the next year we'll be able to get a lot of instructional videos about law practice management subjects up on the bar website, hosted through YouTube to save us bandwidth, but to give us a lot of stuff that we and our office staffs need, starting with the very elementary stuff, to show to the new employee about how to answer the phone in the law office and confidentiality, to train office staff about trust accounts and things of that sort, all the way up through very sophisticated things which Kevin will be working on. Our local and voluntary bars committee will be developing a variety of things with regard to local bars, most notable of which will be a new Bar Leadership Institute that will not cannibalize the YLD Leadership Academy, but build upon it, and providing training for officers of local and voluntary bars and probably people coming to the Board of Governors as well. The Continuity of Practice Committee used to be called the Aging Lawyers Committee, but it's not just aging lawyers. As I mentioned earlier, you might be in your 20s or 30s and drop in. And there is a problem in the bar of what happens to the practice and the clients of the sole practitioner who drops dead or is disabled. Right now, the bar has to go out and recruit receivers to go in and handle the winding down of a practice. And it's a mess. Our Continuity of Practice Committee will adapt planning guides that have been developed in New York and North Carolina to the needs of Georgia, so that a sole practitioner can do a buddy system and have this set of documents that they sort of fill in the blanks. And you're my buddy. You take care of my clients if I die. I take care of your clients if you die. And have all those authorizations executed. We have a new committee on non-traditional legal careers chaired by Damon Elmore, who's the former president of YLD, to deal with how to keep the bar and the legal profession relevant to and engaged with lawyers who are pursuing careers outside the traditional practice of law. consumer protection is one of our duties, to protect members of the public from the vultures in our midst. We'll have a Fair Business Practices Committee taking a fresh look at lawyer advertising. We can't do a whole lot, but we can do some in terms of disclosures and disclaimers, and a few other things that have not been held unconstitutional, and we'll work on that. Pro bono is something that I mentioned earlier. We're working on getting a one-stop shop for all pro bono activities and opportunities around the state. They'll be available just by clicking a button on the bar homepage, and go out and have a one-stop shop for all those opportunities. Georgia Legal Services Program started at YLD, and it's been an activity or relationship with the bar for 40 years. They've taken terrible funding cuts, terrible. And we'll be working through the year to help with their funding issues. If any of you are involved with any firm or any practice area that has to do with class actions, see me now. Because we need to get on the network for Cypre Awards going to Georgia Legal Services to provide help for people at the bottom of the economic ladder. We'll also be encouraging very strongly lawyers to give in monthly online contributions to Georgia Legal Services, not till it hurts, but till it feels good. Finally, we're starting a new program called Solace that we grafted in from the Louisiana bar. It's an acronym for something that's very awkward, and I never can remember what it is. But Judge Jay Zaney, who's a federal judge in New Orleans, started this program after Katrina. I guess if your name is Zaney, you have to come up with something very serious and profound to do with your life, and he has. The Solace program in Louisiana is a way in which the bar provides some small but meaningful help to members of the legal community, lawyers, law office staff, court staff, etc., law students who have a catastrophic illness or injury in the family. Usually, at the request, they go out over their listserv. The last one I saw this morning have to do with a place for a family to stay while a family member is having surgery or transplant or something in some distant city far from home. And the corporate apartments and in-law suites start falling out of the sky when those requests go out. One time, there was a request that went out at 11 o'clock in the morning that said that a Louisiana lawyer had a catastrophic injury while traveling in South Africa. Did not have medevac coverage. Make a note, if you're going anywhere, get medevac coverage. Went out at 11 o'clock. By 1 o'clock, they had a response from a doctor who was also a pilot. He had received this email forwarded from his brother-in-law, who's a lawyer. And the doctor responded, I will take my plane to South Africa and bring him home. Their experience has been, and I hope our experience will be, that this program, which doesn't cost us anything, will help to build a more loving and caring community within the legal profession and our employees and those we deal with. So, 3 points. Time. It's short. Use it well. Calling. See your career as a high calling for service. And third, execute. No half-hearted, half-baked